to the Netherlands now, where the king has sworn in the former spy chief, Dick Schoof, as the country's new prime minister. He's heading up a right-wing coalition with a mission to implement what it's calling the country's strictest ever immigration policy. Well, let's go live to Amsterdam. Fernand van Tetz is standing by for us. Fernand, tell us about this new government.
Well, it is a day of firsts here, Nadia. First of all, of course, Dick Schoof, the man you mentioned, he was not on the ballot back in November when elections were held here. For the first time ever, we're having a non-affiliated prime minister. He's a bureaucrat, a career bureaucrat, former spy chief, as you said, and he will now be leading this country as of today. Another first is that it is a full coalition government, three of which have never been in government before. That is, of course, Geert Wilders' PVV, but as well the centrist NSC and the Farmer Citizens Movement, the BBB. They have had to scramble to find the people to fill these seats because they don't have experience. So that is a concern here among many. And thirdly, none of the four people who are heading their parties will actually take place in this cabinet. They're not going to be ministers. They're not going to be part of the day-to-day running of government, but they're going to stay in parliament to lead their groups. Now, this was part of the deal that was hammered out in the more than 200 days it took to put this coalition together. And there's a very bare bones framework for what they're actually going to do. These four parties, they came up with, indeed, promises to have the strictest immigration policies ever, promises to roll back some of the caps on nitrogen emissions. But for that, they will have to go to Brussels. And it is up to this new team that has now been sworn in today to actually take these 6 pages of pledges that these four parties decided on and work that out into something that resembles policy, work that out into something that can be implemented on the ground by the bureaucrats of the Netherlands.
And Fernand, I'm interested in what kind of comparison we should be drawing today between that new government where you are in the Netherlands and what's happening here in France at the moment, where the country could vote this Sunday to bring the far right into power.
Yes, so very interesting to see the far right now here indeed becoming a kingmaker, even if Geert Wilders is not prime minister. That, of course, also is similar to France, that there will be Emmanuel Macron still as president. But, of course, you can still have a lot of influence, even if you're not, if you are in government. Now, we can see that already very much happening here in terms of rhetoric. Two people who have become ministers have used the great displacement theory, have talked about that, this idea that, you know, a conspiracy theory, really, that white people are being displaced by people of color in Europe. They have used that language. One of them has taken distance from it, but the other has refused to take back those words. So the fact that people with these ideas are now part of the government, that is something that I think or could be happening in France as well, that people have skeletons coming out of the closet once they do come into power. And the other lesson I think you can learn is that if you have patience, you can get there. Of course, Marine Le Pen has been trying for many, many years to get into power, and that is true for Geert Wilders as well. He is the longest-serving MP in the Netherlands. He joined Parliament back in 1998, and he just bode his time. In 2006, he formed his party. In 2010, he had a small taste of government when he was a minority partner with the Liberals, but that did not work out well for him. He did not have the flexibility that it required to govern. And so very quickly, after about a year or so, he pulled back. And since then, he was never allowed back into the chambers where ruling was taking place. So this is the first time he will get another shot of it, not just as a minority partner, but really as a kingmaker. And we'll have to see that some of these ideas that he said that he would put in the fridge, as he called it, after the election, so his very controversial stances on Islam, which he said he would be silent on, whether that will actually hold true. Now, he took to Twitter just mere days ago when this government had been announced, saying that he still thought Islam was a vile religion. So it's a very interesting thing that we'll have to see, that will this responsibility rub off on him? Will he stop using this incendiary language? Now he has his ministers in government. Or will this rhetoric become even more part of the mainstream? Because that is, of course, what has happened here and in France as well, is that a lot of the rhetoric that started off on the radical right, that used to be quite surprising, has moved in, has been adopted by parties further to the centre. And I think that's something that has happened in France and the Netherlands. We'll have to see what happens in France once the election results come through.